Hello everybody, John Felt here, and this is the Mershman Seed Weekly Weather Briefing, July 13th, 2019. Well, looking across the middle of the U.S. over the last week, we can see sort of a typical summertime pattern. The most significant rain was associated with the jet stream. We had a pretty big area of rain here over parts of Iowa that was rain-free in this region. Some heavy rain over Nebraska, and just some moderate rain over the eastern Corn Belt. Look at current dew points at the time. We see some drier air has pushed in with dew points in the 60s. We see a lot of 70s down here along the Gulf Coast with Barry, and that'll be gradually pushing up to the north, and I'll be talking about that in just a moment here. Temperatures over the last week were above normal, especially over the eastern Corn Belt. Look at Ohio there. That was 4 to 6 degrees above normal. For our western Corn Belt, near normal or even a little bit below normal. Now, soils are very interesting to me. I like to watch the progression of soil moisture, and what we're beginning to see here, and if you remember the last couple of weeks, I've been sort of telling you that this area of blue, lots of blue, which is very wet soils as we exit spring, but now we're beginning to really get back to normal. And if you look closely, there's actually a little yellow dot here. So soils are starting to dry out with the very hot summer temperatures if we don't get weekly replenishment rainfall. And you can sort of see here areas that have been wet. I certainly wouldn't call it dry, but they definitely are trending back closer to normal at this time. So we got to keep that in mind. But I will also say that I think this is topsoil moisture. I still think we have pretty good replenishment soil moisture below the surface due to the persistent long-term spring rainfall. I wanted to show you, this is a watering needs graphic, and it just sort of reflects the very top soils, shows how they've been dry over the last week, and we could use some rain in this area. This is the first area sort of emerging where we could use some additional rainfall. Soil temperatures this time of year, certainly warm, and I think with the hot temperatures it'll be warming as we go forward. So rivers have been on a very sustained fall. You can see now we're below flood stage in all the areas in yellow, so most of the Mississippi now has come down significantly and is now falling close to flood stage and eventually below flood stage. We're going to have to certainly watch the area here on the Mississippi as that heavy rain from Barry moves up to the north. I wanted to point out we still have tributaries that have reflected the heavy rain last week in parts of Nebraska that are still in flood. Okay, so talking about Barry here, here's the track. Early this morning, winds are 70 miles an hour. That's a strong tropical cyclone, strong tropical storm. Possible it could go up another 4 or 5 miles an hour. Could be a weak Category 1 hurricane at landfall. But it's very close to landfall right now. Anyway, it's forecast to move up in this direction, just drift up to the north. Now, the cone is very wide here, so you can sort of see it. If it goes a little bit further this way, could affect more of the central Corn Belt. If it goes this way, more east. By this time anyway, it's going to be very weak and disorganized. So I don't think there's going to be a big impact due to Barry over the primary Corn Belt, but we could have some impact, some rain with it, especially the eastern Corn Belt. Okay, so there are two primary features that are driving our weather as we get into the middle part of summer. The big scale feature is this ridge of high pressure here. The secondary feature is more of a smaller scale feature, which is Barry. And then the jet stream, which is well to the north, which is typical, is usually over the northern plains, upper Midwest, and Great Lakes, northeast U.S. So the jet stream is pretty much where it tends to be as we get into the latter part of summer. Okay, so let's look at the forecast here, and what we see here over the next 2 weeks is we really see this big ridge of high pressure. Now, where this is centered is where we're going to have the hottest temperatures. And week 1, it's centered over a good part of the Corn Belt. But then week 2, there's some signs that it could drift a bit to the west, and that could allow a little bit of a secondary cold front to drop down. We'll see. That's way out there. But until we get there, I think the dominant feature is going to be a ridge of high pressure. Now the question is how much impact Barry will have as far as temperatures with clouds. And I think on the track of Barry you can see some blue here, and that's saying that it's keeping temperatures down. As it dissipates, it warms up right behind that. Okay, so as far as rainfall goes, this is the next week, and it's coming right up the Mississippi. That's the best estimate of where it might go, and then probably curve off with the upper flow a bit in this direction. So it does affect parts of perhaps the southern and eastern Corn Belt. We'll have to see. There's a lot of degree of uncertainty of exactly what this will do once it moves inland. But you can see, at least for the next 7 days, here's the best bet for rainfall. Very low or no chance of rainfall from Barry in this region here. And I want to point out here is this area that is already dry, I talked about earlier, remains no rain this week. So we're going to be emerging some dryness in this region here that we could, I think next week when I do my briefing, I'll be again saying this area needs some additional rain. There's a close-up you can see of the rainfall, 6 inches or more in here. So we're going to have to watch this. This will be towards the middle of the week to see if this goes more into the eastern Corn Belt or not. I'll cover that in posts as we go through the week. It's just too far out now. This is way out there. It's going to take a while. Lots of uncertainty. Okay, so 6 to 10 day, we're going to be talking about heat. So not only dry over the central Corn Belt, but very hot. So we're talking about hot temperatures, and maybe in 8 to 14 day, maybe not quite as hot on week 2, but still looks like trending hot. And generally dry as well. Look at this, right through the central Corn Belt, Kansas up into Iowa, good parts of Missouri, parts of Illinois, very dry as well. Okay, as far as weather risks, I just wanted to point out that excessive rainfall is possible within this area, especially the red area. So we are looking at right along the Mississippi River, the possibility of excessive rainfall for the next number of days. I also wanted to point out here that even though we're going to have some excessive rain in this band here, and I think Tennessee, Kentucky, maybe brushing southern parts of Indiana up towards Ohio, best chance of getting some tropical rainfall. But if you don't get the tropical rainfall keeping temperatures down, it looks like excessive heat on the 17th through 19th right through this region, 20th through 22nd in this region right here. So much of the Corn Belt as we get into the 6 day out to about 10 or 12 day period. So as far as alerts, we'll keep an eye on Barry's heavy rainfall. But I think for most of the Corn Belt, we're looking at trending hot and dry as we get into the middle part of the month of July. That's this week's weather briefing. I hope it helps you in your planning. Hope you can stay cool. Have a great week. Take care.